You look at your life, and you have, as Holly said, you've been sort of terribly honest, and there are moments there.
You look at your life and you have, as Holly said, you've been sort of terribly honest, and there are moments there you think, oh my goodness me. So this must have been very emotionally difficult for you to revisit. You've talked about your stepfather, who reveals the truth about what transpired on the set of the 1977 classic, including Burt Reynolds' covert drug use and the horrible script that she nearly turned down. But what is the most shocking thing that has been revealed? The reason she did not talk to Reynolds for the last 30 years of his life. Let's go over the specifics. Sally Field was born in Pasadena, California on November 6, 1946. Two completely different worlds influenced her childhood. Sally's mother, Margaret Field, was an actress who worked with Paramount Pictures, which brought the flash and glam of Hollywood into Sally's early life. Her father, Richard Renfield, was an Army officer, which contributed to the severe discipline and organization in her upbringing. Sally became a strong and robust person because of this combination of glamour and order. Sally's parents split when she was just 4 years old. It was a horrible experience that she carried with her for the rest of her life. Her mother married Jock Mahoney, a stuntman and actor, in 1952. A few years later, however, rather than providing joy, this marriage made Sally's life even more miserable. Years later, in her 2018 memoir In Pieces, Sally disclosed the horrific reality that Mahoney took advantage of her throughout her adolescent years. For decades, she kept the secret, and it influenced the way she viewed both herself and the world around her. Sally was able to find a getaway, even though she was in pain at home. She spent a lot of time on film sets with her mother, watching the magic of Hollywood come to life. This ignited a love for performing and storytelling within her. Sally started using acting as a method to express herself and escaped from her problematic home situation. While she was in school, she found out that she was naturally good at acting. While she was a student at Portola Middle School and then at Birmingham High School in Van Nuys, acting became more than simply a hobby for her. That was how she dealt with everything that was going on in her life. Sally was 17 years old when she attended a high school party that would have a major impact on her life. She was spotted by a talent agent who recommended that she try out for an acting workshop at Columbia Studios. This little notion turned out to be the beginning of something much larger. Sally participated in the program and put in a lot of effort for 8 weeks, gaining experience in acting with other young talents. Although it was a difficult curriculum, it was beneficial to her development. During this period, she caught the attention of casting director Marcia Levy, who was searching for new talent for a television series. Sally was a standout performer because of her inherent charisma and the emotional depth she brought to her performances. In 1965, Sally was cast as the lead in Gidget, which was her first major role. This television program was about Frances Gidget Lawrence, a teenage girl who surfed in Southern California. Sally was only 18 years old, but she managed to get the job over 75 other actresses. Her portrayal was full of life, making Gidget accessible and lovable, especially for teenage viewers. The show first aired in September 1965. Although it was enjoyable and new, it was canceled after only 1 season, with the final episode being broadcast in April 1966. Many people believed that this would put an end to Sally's career before it ever started. But then something unexpected occurred. The replays of Gidget were very popular during the summer, particularly among teenagers. Sally became a star because of this unanticipated success, which demonstrated that she was capable of forming genuine connections with others. Following Gidget, ABC was looking for another project for Sally to work on. That is how she became the star of The Flying Nun. Sally played Sister Bertrill, a young nun who could fly because of her lightweight and the huge cornet she wore. In this odd episode that first aired on September 7, 1967, Sister Bertrill was a figure that viewers adored thanks to Sally's ability to bring warmth and charm to the role. Even though the concept was unusual, the show was a cultural phenomenon, running for 3 seasons and producing a total of 82 episodes. However, Sally was having a difficult time behind the scenes. Later on, she said that she did not like working on The Flying Nun. In fact, she claimed that she despised it. When she was in her mid-20s in the early 1970s, she had a strong desire to play roles that were more mature and sophisticated. However, Hollywood continued to give her the same roles that were lovely and innocent, which made her very upset. Field made the bold decision to appear without a top in the movie Stay Hungry, which was released in 1972. This surprised her fans and a lot of individuals in the industry. She was hoping that the move would demonstrate that she was capable of playing a variety of parts, but it did not turn out the way she had intended. The movie was not released to a large audience and did not influence the way people viewed her. Field made a move that was considerably riskier because she felt trapped. She turned down every opportunity to play a role in a sitcom for about 3 years, from 1973 to 1976. She was determined to break away from her squeaky clean image, even if this may have terminated her career. Field became a member of the Actors Studio in Los Angeles at this time, where she was taught by the famous instructor Lee Strasberg. She dedicated herself to her training, putting in long hours to improve her skills and attending auditions. She was so fed up with her work that she even considered quitting acting altogether. In an interview from 1976, she stated, "I was ready to work as a waitress or do anything else. I simply could not bear the thought of being stuck in that sickeningly sweet image for all eternity." In 1976, her determination eventually paid off, but the fight had a lasting impact on her. Field disclosed in her memoir In Pieces, which was published in 2018, that she struggled with depression and an eating issue during this period. She felt a lot of pressure to change herself, but she was determined to keep going. Her involvement in Stay Hungry was one of the most important moments. The film, which was directed by Bob Rafelson, was a comedy drama that focused on bodybuilding. Field portrayed the role of Mary Tate, a gym receptionist who falls in love with a rich guy named Craig Blake, who is played by Jeff Bridges. The audience was surprised by this role because it contained a sequence in which Field was partially naked. Later on, she confessed that she was scared to take on the part due to the nudity. She said, "I had never done anything like that before, and I wasn't sure I could." In order to get ready, she followed a stringent diet and training plan, which helped her lose 10 pounds and look the part. The film was also the first time Arnold Schwarzenegger had a significant role as an actor. He portrayed a bodybuilder named Joe Santo, and Field later stated that she respected his commitment, even though he was inexperienced. Although Stay Hungry was released in April 1976, it did not do well at the box office, bringing in only $5 million. The picture, on the other hand, developed a cult following over time, and critics appreciated Field's performance. Roger Ebert even described her as being both touching and vulnerable. The movie also won Schwarzenegger a Golden Globe for New Star of the Year, which was the beginning of his career as an actor. Field got her most important part in her career in the same year when she starred in the TV drama Sybil. The story, which is based on a true account, follows a woman who has dissociative identity disorder as a result of horrific abuse she suffered as a youngster. Field had to play not only Sybil but also 13 different personalities, which made this role extremely challenging. Each one has its own unique voice, mannerisms, and emotional depth. Field spent 6 months getting ready by studying the condition, working with a dialect coach, and visiting people in psychiatric facilities. She understood that this was her opportunity to demonstrate that she was a serious actress. Therefore, she approached the role extremely seriously. Sybil is filmed in a very intense manner. Field frequently worked 16-hour days, and the project lasted for 12 weeks. In one emotional sequence, she had to act out a horrible recollection in which Sybil was bound to a table. Field dislocated her shoulder because the sequence was so physically taxing, but she insisted on finishing the shot. She was determined to provide her greatest performance, so she put everything she had into the character. Sybil was a tremendous success when it premiered on NBC in November 1976. It was viewed by more than 92 million people, which was about half of the population of the United States at the time. Field's performance received high accolades from critics, who described it as revolutionary. She was awarded her first Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress. In her tearful acceptance speech, she remarked, This means more to me than I can possibly say. It validates everything I've been working towards for the past decade. The success of Sybil transformed Field's career forever. She went from being considered a mediocre actress on television to being regarded as a serious and skilled performer. Field commented on this breakthrough, saying, "It was as if I had been invisible before, and suddenly people could see me." In 1977, Sally Field's career took an unexpected turn when she was cast in Smokey and the Bandit. Prior to this, Sally was primarily recognized for her performances in television shows such as Gidget and The Flying Nun. People did not consider her to be a good fit for action movies. However, Burt Reynolds, who is already a well-known actor, advocated that she should be cast in the role. At first, the studio was not in agreement. They were looking for an actress who was gorgeous. However, Burt was able to persuade them that she was the ideal candidate for the position. On May 23, 1977, filming started in Georgia. The budget was limited at about $4.3 million, and the summer heat was extreme, frequently reaching 35 degrees Celsius. As a result, filming the automobile pursuit scene was particularly challenging. Burt was 41 years old and at the height of his career, while Sally, who was 30, was ready to move on from her television persona and show that she could succeed in films. Burt enjoyed playing practical jokes on everyone, which gave the set a pleasant and playful atmosphere. Even though there were challenges, the film was released on May 27, 1977, and it turned out to be a surprise success, grossing more than $126 million in ticket sales. It was so successful that it resulted in 2 sequels. Sally made a significant advancement, which allowed her to transition from television to movies. Burt and Sally were also starting a personal relationship that would become an important part of their lives. Sally and Burt had an evident chemistry from the very beginning. In her memoir In Pieces, Sally subsequently stated that their bond was instant. She remarked, "At that point, we had known each other for about 3 or 4 days, but it felt like for years." Their immediate connection was evident on screen and made the relationship between their characters feel authentic, which was a significant factor in the film's success. Their connection quickly developed into a romantic relationship in real life. Sally was attracted to Burt because he was charming and confident. Burt was recognized for his rugged good looks and charismatic charm. He was 11 years older than Sally. The team observed how strong their bond was because they frequently spent time together in between takes. Jerry Reed, who starred with Burt, once observed, "You could cut the tension with a knife." It was like witnessing 2 youngsters who were in love. Despite the fact that their relationship began with enthusiasm and passion, issues arose early on. Burt was accustomed to being the center of attention, so he had a hard time when Sally began to receive more recognition. At one event that was held to promote the movie, fans approached Sally for her autograph more than they asked Burt for his, and Burt was clearly unhappy about it. This was a little preview of the difficulties they would encounter as their relationship continued. Sally subsequently said that it was passionate, but also perplexing and stressful. She said that there was love and caring, but she also stated that there were a lot of issues. Burt's tendency to be controlling was one of the most significant problems. She writes in her memoir, "From the moment I walked through the door, it was a way to control me." Burt frequently attempted to control her job and personal decisions, which resulted in a great deal of stress. Moving forward, Sally Field's life changed forever when she starred in Norma Ray in 1979. Initially, the part was not intended for her. Celebrities such as Jane Fonda were taken into consideration. However, when Sally had the opportunity, she put in her maximum effort. In order to get ready, she spent weeks working at an actual textile mill in Alabama. She was curious about the experiences of women who were part of the working class. She was not afraid at all. While on set, she also performed her own stunts, such as the well-known scene in which she stands on a table while waving a Union sign. Sally had to keep filming that scene over and over again until it was just right. It was shot in a hot, loud mill. The film was a success, bringing in $22 million, which was a significant amount of money at the time. Sally's performance was praised by critics. They stated that she made her character strong but also weak, which felt very realistic. Sally received numerous prestigious prizes for her performance, including her first Oscar for Best Actress, which she earned in 1980. In her remarks, she expressed her gratitude to the woman who inspired her character. To the director of the film, everyone learned at this moment that Sally was not only a television celebrity, she was capable of taking on serious, intense roles. Norma Rae was screened at the Cannes Film Festival in France during the same year. Sally felt both excited and anxious. She was not accustomed to being around famous people like Francis Ford Coppola, who was there with Apocalypse Now. Sally even made some humorous blunders, including packing the wrong clothes for the cool weather. To keep warm, she had to cover herself in the blanket that was in her hotel room. Sally was nervous as she sat in the cinema when her movie was being shown at the festival. When the movie finished, there was stillness at first, and she thought that the audience did not like it. However, they then got up and applauded for a period of 10 minutes. Sally was feeling really stressed. A few days later, she received the Best Actress award at the Cannes Film Festival. It was a big occasion that demonstrated to the world just how talented she was. As her career was beginning to flourish, her relationship with Burt Reynolds began to deteriorate. They had been in a relationship since 1976. However, Burt did not appear to be pleased with Sally's accomplishments. Initially, he was on her side, but he started to become increasingly distant and jealous as she began to win prizes and gain more recognition. He made an impolite remark when she mentioned that she was going to Cannes, claiming that she would not win anything there. Burt's behavior continued to worsen when she received more honors. Later on, he would pout or say hurtful things, and Sally could sense that their bond was becoming weaker. Before the Oscars in 1980, things took a turn for the worse. Burt would not accompany Sally to the awards ceremony even though she was nominated for Best Actress. He even went so far as to tell a magazine that Hollywood didn't care about true acting, which felt like a jab at her. Sally was injured, but she didn't allow it to hold her back. David and Judy Steinberg, her friends, offered to transport her to the ceremony. They picked her up in a limousine with champagne, which made the night enjoyable. On the red carpet, Sally smiled and told reporters that Burt had a prior commitment. Sally won the Oscar that night. While she was on stage, she appeared to be quite joyful as she expressed her gratitude to the persons that assisted her with the film. Burt was not mentioned by her at all. His absence was a clear indication of how much their relationship had altered. Things were never the same. Even though they remained together for a couple more years, Sally's success had created an unbridgeable divide between them. At the same time, Sally Field's career reached a significant milestone when she won her second Oscar for Places in the Heart in 1984. This took place only 5 years after she won her first Oscar for Norma Rae in 1979. It demonstrated that she was among the top actresses in Hollywood. Sally performed the role of Edna Spaulding in the film. Edna was a widow living in Texas in 1935, and she was attempting to salvage her farm and take care of her family during the Great Depression. Sally was first uninterested in the position. She rejected it 3 times because she believed it was too similar to her character in Norma Rae. However, Robert Benton, the director, was not going to back down. He even went to her residence and spent hours trying to persuade her to take the role. Sally got ready by staying with a family in Texas. She learned how to harvest cotton, milk cows, and even slaughter chickens. Everyone was impressed with her performance, which was the result of her hard effort. Her speech at the Oscars also gained a lot of attention. Sally remarked, "I can't deny that you like me right now. You like me?" It is commonly misquoted by people as, "You like me? You really like me?" This phrase was her method of reacting to critics who believed that her first Oscar win was simply a matter of luck. The moment became legendary and is still discussed to this day. Sally then demonstrated her ability to perform a wide range of roles. In 1989, she starred in Steel Magnolias, and in 1993, she starred in Mrs. Doubtfire. These 2 films are completely distinct from one another. In Steel Magnolias, she plays the role of Malin, a mother who is coping with the death of her daughter Shelby. Many people consider her funeral scene to be one of her best moments on TV since it was so poignant. The film, which included a well-known cast that included Dolly Parton and Julia Roberts, was a financial success. Sally was not the first person considered for the job, which is fascinating. Meg Ryan and Deborah Winger were the first ones to be offered it, but they both turned it down. Sally starred in the comedy Mrs. Doubtfire, in which she performed alongside Robin Williams. The movie is about a father who pretends to be a nanny so that he may spend time with his children. Miranda, the mother, was played by Sally. Initially, she was hesitant to take the role because she was concerned that Robin's sense of humor would outshine her. However, the director assured her that she would be able to improvise with him, which convinced her to accept the position. A humorous incident in the film occurred by chance. Robin's phony nose got stuck to her shoe as she stomped on it. The film was a massive success, grossing more than $441 million. Sally took on more mature roles as she grew older. She played Mrs. Gump, who is Tom Hanks's mother in the 1994 film Forrest Gump. In real life, Sally was just 10 years older than Tom, but she was able to make the character plausible by using makeup and costumes. She spent hours in the makeup chair to make her look older. For some scenes, she was nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award since her work was so impressive. Sally featured in the movie Where the Heart Is alongside Natalie Portman in 2000. In this movie, Sally played a motherly role for a younger generation of actors. She took on the role of a mentor to Natalie, giving her guidance on how to handle being in the spotlight. Then, in 2002, Sally shocked everyone by performing on Broadway. She starred in The Goat, or Who is Sylvia?, a play that has topics that are dark and disturbing. Her performance was well received by the audience, and it demonstrated that she was capable of doing more than just acting in movies and television shows. Sally kept going at full speed in the 2000s. Sally Field became renowned again when she played the character of Nora Walker in the television drama Brothers and Sisters. The show premiered on September 24, 2006. However, at first, the character of Nora was played by Betty Buckley. Sally was given the job because the producers thought they needed to make a change. This was a fantastic decision, since she brought Nora to life in a way that made people appreciate the character. Nora was a widow who discovered that her husband had cheated on her. In addition to that, she had to deal with the issues that her adult children were facing. Sally was able to demonstrate her talent over the course of 5 seasons and 109 episodes of the show. Nora's tale about bereavement, self-discovery, and progress was made to feel extremely genuine by her. Sally received an Emmy for her performance in 2007. The 59th Primetime Emmy Awards took place on September 16th. It was a wonderful moment when she won because it had been 30 years since she had last won an Emmy for Sybil. However, her speech made the incident much more well-known. She expressed her opposition to war by declaring, "If the mothers ruled the world, there would be no goddamn war in the first place." After she said the word goddamn, Fox, the television network that was broadcasting the performance, interrupted her and did not allow her to continue speaking. This sparked a significant discussion on free speech and the appropriateness of making political statements during award programs. Sally's performance as Mary Todd Lincoln in the 2012 film Lincoln was another significant milestone in her career. It was not a simple task to obtain this position. As early as 2005, Steven Spielberg had her in mind for the role. However, the film underwent a number of revisions. Sally put on 25 pounds in order to resemble Mary Todd Lincoln more closely and research the life of the First Lady in detail. She requested that Spielberg allow her to audition, and she did a sequence with Tommy Lee Jones, who was also in the movie. The big moment happened when she and Daniel Day-Lewis met while acting as their characters. They spent hours improvising as Abraham and Mary Todd Lincoln. This made Spielberg and Day-Lewis believe that she was the ideal choice for the role. Sally portrayed Mary Todd as a complex woman who was highly intelligent, but also dealing with emotional turmoil. Mary was mourning the death of her children while still providing assistance to her husband throughout the Civil War. Sally's performance in the film, which was released on November 9, 2012, received a lot of positive feedback. She received nominations for prestigious accolades such as the Academy Award and the Golden Globe. However, despite the fact that she did not win, most considered this to be one of her best performances of all time. Sally received a prestigious honor in 2023. She was accepted into the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, which is one of the oldest and most well-regarded institutions in the United States. Sally Field recently revealed some unexpected information about Smokey and the Bandit. She stated in an interview in 2022 that her kiss with Burt Reynolds on screen was the worst kiss she had ever experienced. She didn't hold back when she said that it was just not something he did very well, and she even made a joke about the drooling. This surprised viewers, especially because their on-screen connection appeared to be so flawless. Initially, Field was not enthusiastic about the movie. She confessed in 2018 that she believed the script was awful when she read it. Burt Reynolds acknowledged that the script was not very good, but he persuaded her to join by stating that they could make it work through improvisation. This means that a lot of what the fans appreciated about the movie came from the inventiveness of the actors on set rather than the script itself. The reason Reynolds wanted Field in the movie is what makes it amusing. In a classic sitcom called Gidget, he expressed his love for her, was perplexed, and wondered, "Is that really Gidget? That's why he desires me." Even though it looked random, it turned out to be a good thing. The movie Smokey and the Bandit was a massive success, grossing $126 million in the United States. It also had 2 sequels and became one of the most popular films of the 1970s. However, the actual relationship between Field and Reynolds was far more problematic than it appeared in the movie, which was joyful and carefree. Field stated in her memoir that their relationship was immediate and passionate. She said that the first 4 days on set felt like 4 years since their friendship developed so swiftly. However, things were not ideal at that time. Reynolds was 41 years old, and Field, who was 30 years old, observed that he was using a large amount of narcotics. He took medications like Percodan and Valium, and he even got some unusual injections in his chest. Field was concerned about Reynolds and wanted to assist him. She made arrangements for him to see a doctor at the Miami Heart Institute without him knowing. Despite the fact that his health assessment came back favorable, she encouraged him to seek therapy for his worry and tension. Reynolds rejected her attempts, saying that they were ridiculous and that she was fooling herself. There were many paradoxes in their relationship. Field said that it was a perfect match of defects. Reynolds later expressed tremendous regret for how he handled Field. Even if their relationship was rocky, he expressed his deep need for her by saying, "I miss her terribly," and he also referred to her as the love of his life in an interview with Vanity Fair in 2015. "I have no idea why I was so foolish." Field disclosed that she and Reynolds had not spoken to each other for the past 30 years of his life, which is a tragic situation. Sally Field has been married 2 times in addition to this partnership. Her first marriage began as a love story that took place in high school. On September 16, 1968, she wed Stephen Craig in Las Vegas. Sally was 21 years old, and Stephen was 23 years old. They traveled to Jamaica for their honeymoon, filled with optimism about what was ahead. However, things didn't go as planned, and the marriage ended up being both thrilling and difficult. They had 2 sons over the 7 years they were together. Peter's birthday is November 10th, 1969, and Eli's birthday is May 25th, 1972. Both of them grew up to pursue careers in the entertainment industry, just like their mother. Peter became a well-known screenwriter, contributing to films such as Top Gun, Maverick, and The Batman. Eli became a director and created the cult comedy Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. Sally and Stephen's relationship began to deteriorate despite the fact that they had some joyful moments as parents. Later on, Sally confessed that her reasons for marrying Stephen were not the right ones. She was afraid of losing him and wanted her life to feel more stable. When Stephen turned his back on Hollywood and began living a hippie lifestyle, things became even more difficult. Sally's home in Brentwood and Stephen's commune were the 2 places where their sons spent their time, and this resulted in them having very distinct experiences as they grew up. The couple split up in 1973, but it wasn't until August 1st, 1975, that their divorce was formalized. Stephen continued to be a part of his sons' lives even after he and his wife divorced. Stephen stepped in to aid Peter when he dropped out of high school. He gave him a difficult construction job in Oregon to help him get back on track. This demonstrated the complexity of their family while also showing that they were still connected. Years later, Sally got married for the second time. She married film producer Alan Grisman on December 15, 1984. This occurred following her well-known romance with Burt Reynolds. Sally wanted to start over, and,